Hello, I'm Dr. Larry Carnes, and welcome to Books of the Month. We're so glad that you could join us, and we have a very special and exciting guest with us today. Mr. Phillips, how are you today, sir?
I'm very well, thank you.
It's such a
delight to be here.
Oh, it's an honor to have you. I tell you, we're delighted to have you with us. Do this for us. Introduce yourself to our viewing audience and tell them a little bit about who you are.
Well, that's an interesting question because I'm pretty long in the tooth, you could say, having been around for nearly 80 years. So I had over 50 years working as a psychologist, and I learned a lot from the people that I have worked with. They've taught me far more than I ever learned at university.
Yes, sir.
So it's been a wonderful experience to have had so much contact with thousands of people who have told me their story and helped me achieve a lot of goals in that time. So this book is one of the outcomes of that, and there are several others that I've also written. But we're here, I think, to talk about this one, aren't we?
Yes, we're talking. Yes, sir. And I always will. Fascinating. As I begin to look at this book, let me just share. It says, this is a true love story with a dramatic and exciting twist. After several years of excitement and immense fun, together we were married on the beach at Whale Beach in Sydney. And then you tell them to look at the cover. I saw the beautiful picture of you and your lovely bride on that cover. It's an amazing picture. Our backgrounds and experience were very closely matched, even down to teaching at universities and consulting with unions and employers. So we went into business, bringing French students to Australia universities and colleges. Then you say we loved it. Talk to us about that and share this fascinating book with our audience.
Yes, certainly, Doctor. The interesting part about our story was the amount of fun that we had when we first met. And I think any reader will thoroughly enjoy the book of funny things that Ashlyn and I started writing over 20 years ago. And it was lucky we did, because when you get into the book, you'll find out that the real problem, the dramatic twist, was that Ashlyn has Huntington's disease.
Yes.
And that's a disease that destroys your personality. It's a neurological disorder that is inherited. She got it from her father, and he got it from his father, and his brother also got it. So
okay,
there's a family history of disease there. And an important part that I think will be of a real concern for people in the States is that the incidence of Huntington's disease is about 14 in 100,000 in the States. It's a particularly European disease. It's not an Asian disease. There's only about 2 per 100,000 in Asia. But look, the book is primarily about the funny things that happened, and also then, of course, the dramatic twist. But I'll give you a little example because I'm sure you'll love it. When Ashlyn first came to stay with me in Victoria, I lived above the snow line on a farm, and she came in winter, and she had no warm clothes. She came from Sydney, where it's always lovely and warm.
Yeah.
So it was a real shock for her. We went to a place called Kathmandu, where they sell thermal underwear and big jackets and lovely, warm snow gear and things like that. Anyway, we went in and we tried various things on, and the young fellow who was acting as the salesman asked me, whilst Ashlyn was trying out her clothes to see if they were all the right size, etc. He said, "Look, I can give you a discount if you become a member of our Kathmandu club." And I said, "Well, that sounds fine. How much is the discount?" 10%. Okay. Well, and he passed me a form to fill in. Now, without thinking, I didn't have my glasses with me. And so I couldn't really fill the form in, let alone put your initials in tiny little boxes and things.
Yes.
So when Ashlyn came to the desk, I said, Ashlyn, could you fill this in for me? And she said, certainly. Picked up the pen, wrote the name Chris, and then she said, what's our surname? Phillips, of course. Do you spell that with 2 L's? She asked. Oh, yes, we do. And what's our address? Was the next question she asked. You should have seen the young salesman's look on his face. He was horrified. He thought, she must be a pro.
I tell you, that's amazing. You talk about something here. You say we had to build our own program of Pilates. Now, okay, and you built this because of the things that your beautiful bride was facing. And you talked about Tai Chi, you talk about your diet, and especially your art classes. We discovered that Ashlyn was actually very talented with oil paints and a brush. Her neurologist explained the work had apparently increased the neurological. Now, you talk about how it increased and helped her by taking on these projects, if you will. Talk to us about that and the positive impact that it had upon your lovely wife.
Well, of course, Charles, the important part there, sorry, Dr. Carnes, the important part there was that Ashlyn's had a movement disorder which is caused by Huntington's, and yet the fine art skills that were required for painting helped her manage those problems. And it was, and according to her neurologist, it increased the neuroplasticity in her brain. So where she was losing capabilities on the left-hand side of her brain, which is the logical side, she was gaining extra abilities on the right-hand side of her brain. So she was actually overcoming some of the problems that she had because of that art therapy.
Yeah.
So I would recommend anybody who's got a neurological disorder, and that could include people even with multiple sclerosis or Parkinson's even, those sorts of activities make a marvelous difference to people's enjoyment, to their capabilities, and it extended her life at home for a long while. So I looked after her for 8 years while we went through all of this, because there's actually no known cure for Huntington's disease. But there are hopeful signs. For example, I know that there's a company called Beam Therapeutics in the States who are working on a gene silencing process and a gene editing process where there are a pair of Huntington genes, and one of them is always the one that causes the problem with Huntington's. The other one's perfectly okay. So what they do is they snip that one, reproduce the good one, put it back in, and Bob's your uncle. You've got a repaired gene, which is amazing therapy.
My. So is this new development that they're just embarking upon now?
Yes, exactly, Doctor.
Wow. Exactly. That's amazing. That's amazing. You know, you talk about something, you speak about the parallel careers that you and your lovely wife had. And she graduated in psychology at Sydney University. You graduated in, now, both of you have those careers. So now this is something that's so very important. 50 years of work in your fields?
Yes.
My goodness, working together. What type of things did you all accomplish as a couple in your field?
Well, a lot of marriage guidance counseling.
Excellent.
A lot of group work with people, helping them deal with problems like alcoholism or drug dependency, relationship difficulties, problems at work, the whole range of things that happens to people. And we had a lot of spiritual inputs as well, helping people discover their inner selves and the things, the passion that they have in their lives, and how that guides them to finding their talents and abilities.
Yes, yes,
You know,
yes, sir. You know, when you speak about and renewing the spirit of the mind, even with the challenges that your lovely wife faced, but I can just sense that by your practices and that inner healing, that internal relationship that you have, that the spirit of her mind was being renewed as she took on the arts and craft and the painting with the brushes, that there was a transformation taking place within her.
yes.
What would be some key components, sir, that you would like to share with our viewing audience and let them get out and get this fascinating book? It's a love story, but they need to go purchase this book.
Yeah, well, I mean, anybody who's got a neurological disorder will find it very interesting, because I'm the one who had to cope with what is it? She went through some pretty difficult stages as well. You're quite right. She's a lovely wife. She still is. We're still married. And a script writer who's looking towards trying to produce a film for this on this book
Yes,
wrote that it's a lovely example of unconditional love.
love it.
That's what I'd like to say is the real challenge for us as humans, to love each other in that depth that enables you to deal with the sorts of problems that come forward. And some of them were pretty dramatic. I mean, she learnt Thai boxing. So you know how
Yes, yes,
rapidly somebody can hit you. And there we were driving down the road, and she's belting me like this in the head, and my glasses are twisted, and
yeah,
and look out, you know, this car's coming the other way at 100 k's down the road, 100 k's an hour.
yes.
So it was very dangerous, but and very dramatic, some of the things that happened. And I've just got to say it was pretty hard to get through some of those. And in the end, I said to Ashlyn, look, we're going to have a divorce
Yeah,
if you don't undertake the Huntington's test.
yes.
Now, her son, Ashlyn had a son, Josh, and now this is not in the book. It isn't in this book,
Okay.
but it's very important to know her son was a really lovely young man, and he was afraid that he had Huntington's disease because he didn't know whether he had it or not, but he refused to be tested. He didn't want to know. But he had two children, doctor. He has two children. He had two children. He's not with us anymore.
Yes.
He started drinking. He lost his job. His wife chucked him out of the house. He was living rough under bridges. He wasn't eating properly. He had a major stroke, and then he had another one. And the doctor said, "You're never going to recover if you have another stroke, son. You're dead." And he did.
Wow.
He died.
We have 1 minute and 30 seconds left. Take about 45 seconds to tell people how they can contact you, be it website, email, or any contact information.
Certainly, if you look up Chris Phillips on Facebook as author, Chris Phillips of And I Always Will, you will come across my website, and you will also come across from the contact then that is there for this book, for Barnes and Noble or for Amazon. They are both producing the book, and Bookopedia. So it's available. It's available.
Yes,
And
yes.
I'd love you to share your thoughts on the book with me. I know I've made a lot of people laugh, and I've made a lot of people cry with the stories that we've told, particularly in the nursing home. It's very widely read, this book.
It's a
In the nursing home
fascinating
that
book.
Ashlyn's in.
It's a fascinating book. And I tell you, we thank you so much for being with us. It's a love story. Go out and purchase this book. It's a love story. It shares with you many things, and it will encourage you. For those of you who may be facing some of these same challenges, you'll see the love of this man and the commitment that he has to his wife. And I always will. Mr. Phillips, thank you so much for being our guest.
Thank you very much, Doctor. It's been a real pleasure, and good luck to people. I hope you have a very successful 2023.
Yes, I'm Dr. Carnes. This has been Books of the Month. Make sure you join us again right here for Books of the Month.
Thank you. Bye-bye.